The reason this is called Rise is because Catwoman takes him to go find Bane.
Yeah.
And Catwoman's after a clean slate.
Yeah.
Basically to restart her life. You know, that's going a little too much backstory. But so they go there. Batman gets his back broken by Bane, and he gets taken to, I don't know where it was, the Middle East or somewhere, this pit that Bane was raised in. So everybody's kind of like, well, Batman's gone, and the city is now, like, he's lying to the concrete foundations of the city. I thought he was going to have, like, some earthquake kind of machine. Like, you know, how, like, No Man's Land is about, like, Gotham City being hit by this earthquake. And that is prevalent here, you know, of this, like, city in ruins kind of situation where, you know, gangs are running over the street. And, you know, Batman's watching, basically, his city helpless, and they're basically saying, okay, if anybody tries to leave, we're going to blow the city up. But the thing is, though, the freaking, he's got this bomb, this nuclear armed device.
Yeah.
Which he plans to blow up no matter what.
Yeah.
And I don't understand what he's trying to have everybody, like, what the lesson Bane's trying to have everybody learn is. I guess it's to value your city more, but that kind of is a useless lesson to have when everybody becomes, you know, nuclear ash at the end of the day. So I guess that, you know, that's just, you know, being a villain for the sake of villain. But
no, he was trapping them.
I know he was trapping them, but I don't see what the point is of saying, we want you all to go home and learn to value your lives better and to save your city. But, you know, so he takes Batman to the pit the pit prison that he runs. And while that's happening, he's like getting his back fixed by this prison doctor, and he's learning about the history of this prisoner who escaped, who climbed out of the pit. So, meanwhile, so he gets this hallucination of great old Liam Neeson back as Ra's al Ghul. What were you saying about Ra's al Ghul that you weren't as impressed? So you thought that was out of place, the hallucination?
I just thought the whole hallucination stuff was unnecessary to bang the message in our head, and like it was just shoved in there.
A little too contrived?
Yeah, I just felt it was way too contrived. It was just for like you know how in these superhero movies they always have to have that nerd moment for the nerds?
Yeah, they're just like, you know, throwing in the comic book character for the sake of comic.
Yeah,
like, you know, I guess I can understand that. Like, it is the whole, like, Victor Zsasz moment in Batman Begins. But I think it did serve a purpose in the fact that he needed to have himself basically drowned in doubt. That he's basically unable to walk. His back is broken.
Yeah.
He's already got some wounds from the Dark Knight, and now he's gotten his back broken. And so it's kind of the situation where it's like, you know, you're at the bottom of a pit, you have no idea how you're supposed to get out.
Your spirit is crushed.
Your spirit is crushed.
And you're physically crushed.
You're physically destroyed, and what are you supposed to do? You're supposed, and basically, the easiest and most logical thing to do is to just give up, to just say, you know, I'm gonna, you know, just give up. I just turn off the TV that Bane's showing me all these images of Gotham, and, you know, just die in peace.
Yeah.
But, you know, he's kind of like, okay, I'm going to climb out of the pit. I liked how they had a very practical moral message with that. He's like, you got to learn to not be afraid of death. Well, how am I supposed to not be afraid of death? Well, go up the pit, this, like, basically quarter of a mile deep pit.
Yeah.
And they're like, you got to climb up the pit without a rope. Okay. And at first he eventually gives in, and he goes back to Gotham to go save it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he goes there. Now, see, this is what kind of separates the whole superhero element. Superhero element is evident in Dark Knight as much as it in this one. Yeah. In terms of, like, you know, making Batman this iconic symbol. But he is a symbol. He is this character who is a representation of a greater cause. You know what I'm talking about? And that's where he's kind of marshaling this army of Gotham's police.
Yeah.
So there's this whole brawl between the police force and Bane's thugs and all those guys. And while they've got, like, they've hacked into Batman's arsenal. Yeah. So, you know, that's just like, you know, really, you're screwed 7 ways to Sunday. That was where I was like, okay, are we just amping the action up for the sake of amping the action up? Because we got this giant battle scene where, you know, Batman is the superhero and it's kind of robbing him of his glory. He does get the best action scenes because the fight scenes between him and Bane just get better and better, I found.
Let's talk about the things we found negative in the movie.
Well, for me, like, the big negative thing was that, I don't know, I didn't have too much negative problems with this thing. It was a bit, like, Bane was a little bit harder to crack. Exposition was a bit tough to follow, but I had the same problem with The Dark Knight, and I've seen that like 80 times now, and I just know it off by heart.
Yeah, I think like with the whole, mostly with Chris Nolan movies, you have to rewatch it.
There is so much. It's not rewatch value for the sake of entertainment. It's rewatch value for, I think, for a lot of the viewers getting clicked in.
Yeah, and getting the clear message. Because like this is a movie you have to watch again and again to fully get the picture.
You don't want to go to the bathroom in like in a lot of these scenes.
Exactly.
Like, you know, there's hardly a scene you want to miss. And
and it moves so fast that.
And that was the other thing. Like we were like, this is much more faster paced than The Dark Knight. I didn't see any dragging moment.
Yeah.
And if there was, it was very brief.
Yeah.
And so basically, so we get back to Gotham. He makes this alliance with Selina Kyle. He's like, you know what? You got to help me find Lucius Fox, and if you do, I'll give you this clean slate thing that'll, like, you know, everywhere in the world, you're gonna have a clean record. So she's like, okay. He's like, but I think that there's more to you than that. She's like, sure there is. And we all know where that's going. And I liked how they played it, that she was, you know, for the most part, this character who was, you know, in it for herself. She was a survivalist, and she had some really good action scenes, too. Like, I thought that Anne Hathaway did a great job with the choreography.
Yeah.
But, it comes down to where Bane's, like, basically ready to blow up the city in a day, because the timer's going to go off soon. It's a ticking time bomb. And there's no way to stop it at all, because he killed the scientist who has the only way of disarming it. So, he's got the trigger held by this one citizen. And we've all been wondering whether this was going to happen. Everybody's called it Chris Nolan's worst kept secret. Moses, you may explain.
The person holding the trigger is Ra's al Ghul's daughter.
Talia al Ghul. I've known it since the beginning. Miranda Tate bullcrap. What's her name? Marion Cotillard from Inception, you know, Maul from Inception. I was just like, I know it. And she kept on saying, oh, it's a different character. It's a different character. Lady, you're not fooling anybody.
And your accent.
Well, no, he was like British in Batman Begins. She's French.
Oh.
You know what I'm saying? Like, there's no really similarity with the accent.
Okay.
But I was like, you know what? Okay, they had this whole thing where she and Bruce were getting together, and I was like, okay, I think the reason they're having this sex scene is because they want to have this whole continuity thing where they're just like, oh, later she turns out to be Ra's al Ghul's daughter, and she's like, oh, and I'm carrying Batman's child, Damian Wayne. But no, they do make her this bad villain who is working with Bane. I saw a lot of similarity in the dynamic of the villains, like in The World Is Not Enough.
Yeah.
I don't remember who the names of the characters are, but you know the two main villains in World Is Not Enough, between the character who fell in love with the main villain who couldn't feel pain. Actually, there's a lot of symbolism, a lot of connection between The World Is Not Enough, the James Bond movie, and the villains here. But I thought it was great that the plot twist came at a reasonable time. It wasn't just thrown in there for the sake of, you know, pulling an M. Night Shyamalan. And I knew she was the one with the trigger. Like, I had no doubt. But it was just like, okay, if you're going to do it, have a purpose for it. And they did, that she was wanting to continue her father's legacy.
Yeah.
And that there was that relationship between her and Bruce. And she was actually the one who climbed out of the pit. Everybody thought it was Bane, and they did a really good job, because I swore that was a boy.
No, yeah, because like
in the flashback scenes,
children, when they're young and they have shaved heads, they look like boys.
Yeah, it truly was remarkable in the way they played that out, because even when I'm watching it again, I'm like, that that's a boy? Or that's a girl? You kidding me? You know, Chris Nolan knows how to frame his scenes. He really knows how to capture the cinematography, which is brilliant here, and they really cannot have gotten better.
Yeah,
in terms of, I really wish we'd seen this in IMAX, but that all happens, and then the Batman's like, I gotta take this nuclear bomb and haul it out of here. So he pulls the Peter Petrelli Heroes thing, where he just takes it, drives it off away in the Bat, the flying thing, and he's just like, you know what? I'm gonna go die for my city. I was on the verge of tears.
Yeah.
I truly was. I was like, I think that they're going to do it. I just see them doing this, and I'm just like, you know what? It sucks, but it's the way it's realistically going to happen. But nope, he's alive. 3 days later, he rose from the grave, and so they have this whole thing where he's like, you know what? He wants to get a normal life, so he and Selina run off to be together. And he stands as this iconic symbol for Gotham that was a character who was able to inspire people taking action of their city, being able to, wanting to carry up his mantle. So I thought it was a phenomenal movie.
Yeah.
I could not be more pleased with it.
I still have to stay on my negatives.
Yeah, what are your negatives?
My negative was there was enough Batman. And I felt like there's just not enough Batman, and there's actually more Bruce Wayne than Batman.
Yeah, well, the thing is, it is about a guy who's picking up where he left off and realizing, like, that is where the Dark Knight Returns atmosphere kind of comes into it. It is about him trying to figure out his identity again. I thought that the great thing was that he learns what he's trying to live for here.
Yeah.
That he is trying to discover, what am I going to live for if not Batman?
I know, but I just thought that it was too dragged on. Like, I want to see Batman.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the whole Ra's al Ghul and Batman relationship was, like, rushed.
Well, you have to have the backstory of Batman to begin to understand that. And I think that they packed enough meat into this thing as it was. Still a phenomenal movie.
Yeah, it's still good, but...
And I thought that, they really capped it off very nicely, and I'm going to be interested to see where they're going to take it from here. They are not going to make a Robin movie! Get over it!